Hello YouTube world, Mac Daddy 1911A1. How are y'all doing today? Decided I'm going to do a video right quick, or maybe not so quick, on what I do for a living. I'm a truck driver. I'm an owner operator of this fine beautiful truck you see in this photograph. Unfortunately for me, I have an antique of a computer. It's about 6 years old now, and it's just wore out, or it's overtaxed or whatever, and it just does not do that well on the different programs to make certain types of videos, and one of them is a photo montage. I've been trying for a while and it just won't work, so here we go. This here is my 2001 CX613 Mac Vision. I've had it since May the 12th, 2006. I bought it for about 40,000 bucks, and the trailer that it's hooked up to in this particular photo is my 2004 Rinky 48-foot flatbed. And I haul just about anything you can put on a flatbed as long as it pays well. If it doesn't, then it's a waste of my time, and I usually don't do it. Here's another photo, same load, on my way out to I do believe that went to the Air Force Base right there in Utah, at Ogden Air Force Base, if I remember correctly. This particular load here was out in also in Utah, in the oil fields in the northeastern part of the state, near the Wyoming line. Actually, it was closer to the Colorado line. I was pulling a friend's step deck trailer, and that's the load we had on. That's a heat tech heater. It heats up liquid asphalt, crude oil, and that's what it was doing in at this facility. The old girl, I've had her for oh, let me back that up. We've had the old girl for quite a few years, and she's done a really good job. Got 1,080,000 miles on her. And when she's all washed up and polished out, as you can see, she looks really good. And that's what this picture is. This is where I had started polishing. And that dark streak is not the shadow from the hub, because that's what this here is. That there is from being polished. And this is what it looks like after, you know, months and months on the road, and the crud that hits the wheels, and the you know, the soaps and all we use to wash to get the oil and the grease off, and it'll bleach it out. And all you got to do is go in there with some high quality polish and a terry cloth and buff it out, and then wipe off the residue. There's another picture. I do believe that was when it was finished, including the center hubcap and the lug nut covers. Here's another shot of it as I was before. I do believe, yes, because there's some rust right here on the cap and rust on those, and it hasn't been touched yet. So that was the before picture. And here's this one here has been polished, the front axle, and this one back here had not been polished. There's a picture of the truck with that same heat tech heater before I delivered it. This was at a truck stop. I think it was 2 days after my friend Darren's truck got hit by another truck in that same exact parking lot. Tore the heck out of his truck. There's some pictures on here of that also. But in the picture you can see up here at the top, the clear coat had started coming off the truck pretty bad on the top of the cab, and it just had barely started on top of the hood. And you know, I'd love to get it repainted, but I don't have $2,000 to go in and do that kind of stuff. And here's the rear light bar that I had added to the truck after I purchased it. Stainless steel, polished it out, and the Mac tag I had put on there, and the 4 very bright LED lights, as well as my backup lights, extra ones that I'd added, and my Mac mud flaps and the spring-loaded stainless steel mud flap brackets, the hangers. Before I added the stainless steel, they're spring-loaded, but before I added them I had the standard ones, and I broke them. Every time you turn around they'd break and fall off, and I'd lose a mud flap. And I got tired of that, and those really look nice also. So I'm glad I spent that 150 bucks. There's the back side of the fuel tank after I'd been polishing on a bit. I think I continued because there's still some streaks in the tanks and some pitting, but the pitting, the only way to get it out, I mean, you'd really have to buff for a long time or get a high-speed buffer to get it out, and I don't happen to have one of those, so I just did that by hand. And then there's one of the drive wheels finished in the shadow later in the day, and you can see me waving at the camera in the reflection there. And another shot. And the fuel tanks. The fuel tanks are the hardest. They're hard to get to the front of them on a Mack and between the steps and the tank, but it worked out okay. Came out looked nice. And one to steer axle, steer the front wheels. And there's my buddy Darren's truck. FLD Freightliner. I think his was a 2000 model, or maybe a 2001 like mine, but a guy cut it short and got the front of his hood, and you can see it tore it all to pieces. And there's another angle of it where the bumpers just bent nearly straight out, tore the hood up, damaged the radiators, split and busted the hoses, and made a hell of a mess. But that was what it looked like the day after it happened. And there's the wrecker hooked up to him, or hooking up to his truck to tow it to the nearest dealer. And that's where it was sitting in the parking lot. It actually slid it. You can see the tire down here. It slid it over about 4 or 5 feet. And another couple of feet and it would have hit that truck right there. That brand new Freightliner. Or whatever was sitting there that night. I'm not even sure now. I'm going to zoom in on these. Now this in here it's in here out of order, but I got tired of screwing around with it. But that was a barge. I went out to a private island. And a friend of mine was taking a picture of me as we were coming in, as I was taking a picture of him and his friends up there goofing off and laughing and carrying on. Those really nice guys, though. I was just cutting up with them, and they were cutting up with me. But I had an adventure on that one, and there's quite a few more pictures of that in here. And back to the damage to Darren's truck. He was pulling an oversized load, and that's the reason there's a flag right there on his fender. You have to flag it to let the four-wheelers, who ignore it any freaking way, see that you have an oversized load. It doesn't matter. I've had a 15.5 foot wide load, and I've had a car go right under the edge of it because it was taller than his car, and he was driving right under there. Though I couldn't see him, if it hadn't been for the rear escort, I would have never known the moron was there, and I probably would have run over him. But you know, what the hell, there's only one sure cure for stupidity. Now this is the heater. When Darren loaded it, while in here in Chattanooga area, he loaded it in Chattanooga. We went out there, and then all the stuff happened with his truck getting hit, and me having to deliver it for him. I mean, I charged him the bare minimum because I knew he was in a hurt locker. And before it was all said and done, his insurance did the right thing. They paid me to deliver the load. They paid me to pick his trailer up and bring it home for him. But they totaled his truck out because it would have cost as much to fix it as it would have, versus the value of the truck. But he didn't really have any pictures of his own truck for his kids, and that's Darren with his back to the camera right there and to the right, big old fella. And there's another load, his trailer again, about 2 weeks before all this happened, with his truck getting destroyed. When the radiator shroud, something happened and it hit the fan blade, and the fan blade just destroyed it, and he had to have it fixed. And I took his load on for him. You know, sometimes stuff like this happens. I've had mine in the shop, and something would happen, a part wouldn't come in or whatever, and someone is taking it on for me and delivered it. So, you know, we try to help each other out in the trucking community, because if we don't, it sure as hell ain't nobody else going to. But that was right here in near Savannah, Georgia, where that was at, and had a good time on that load. One of the most beautiful women I've ever met in my life was out there that day, and way beyond what I could attain. This was the day before. I just took a snapshot of how big it was, that same load. Alright, and this here, I picked this up in Missouri. It's a type of metal. It's just metal. and I had to tarp it, and it made a great picture, so I took a couple of pictures of it. And how in the world this picture got where it is, I don't know, but this is let me skip on through it. Those pictures are from this truck right here. This brand spanking new 2011 Mack. It's like in January or something. I saw it and it was so beautiful. I just had to take some pictures. And so I took some pictures. There's a DPF or DEF tank that they have to have nowadays for the exhaust on them to treat it. And this is the DPF filter, diesel particulate filter, that actually cleans the soot out of the exhaust stream. And right here, if you can see where my cursor is, okay, you see the cursor here running around. Okay, right below it, this chrome piece, that is the catalytic converter that trucks have to have. And the DP or the DEF fluid is squirted into the exhaust stream between the DEF filter and the DPF, or the catalytic converter. And when that solution hits the catalytic converter, it causes a chemical reaction. When the exhaust coming out is cleaner than the air going into the engine, according to what they say. And here's what the Mack rear end looks like from the top, looking down on it. It's unlike any other, but the drive line is straight. There's no angle at all to it, like the steep angles you'll see on Eaton rear ends. And there it is, looking over the top of the front one. Here's the front axle, down here where this torsion bar is, and the drive shaft that runs from it to the second rear end. This is the very one in the very back of the truck, and then it goes down, and the banjo, that's what the housing is called, goes across here to the brakes, and the axle was over the other side. I mean the wheels that are other side of the frame rail, and here's the frame rail on this side of it, right here, if you can see the cursor moving. And these notches here are to adjust the fifth wheel, and this is the fifth wheel, the bottom of it, and this is the saddle it sits in, and then it slides across this. And what it's designed to do is add or subtract weight from the steer axle. So if you're too heavy, you can slide it to the rear. If it's too light, you can add to it, and it helps you get your axle weights correct. And let's skip through those. That Mack is an old R model that was painted up in the colors for the breast cancer awareness, and I just like that picture, and I thought that was really cool of the folks with that company to do that. It's pink and white, and of course it's advertising for breast cancer awareness and the research, you know, well, there's a close-up of the heart. I'll tell you what, I'll zoom in like this. Can't really read it, it's not that clear. There's another shot of the truck. Early detection saves lives is what it, well, there you go, you can read it yourself. And there is a beautiful Mack rawhide that a friend of, well, an acquaintance on the internet from bigmacktrucks.com. That's his truck right there. And that color is called plum. It's a beautiful truck. Beautiful truck. If I were to stay in the trucking industry, I'd have to have a rawhide eventually. That's all there is to it. Alright, now this is an odd angle, and I need to rotate it so you can understand. This is from the ground, looking up at the chain and the binder and the clevis here at the top that holds down a piece of pipe. Okay, it's not just an ordinary piece of pipe. It's for a pump that went down to South Florida to the Everglades, where they're doing some work on the Everglades in Florida. Because, you know, years ago they tried to dry it out and to drain it, and they decided it was so bad for the environment and for the animals and all, they're reflooding it now, and that's one of the pieces that's doing that. But I had to spend $124 for enough clevises to do this piece to keep it from rolling or sliding forward or anything else. Now this trailer is not mine. This was a towaway. It paid a lot more than just the standard load, because I took this load and this trailer to Florida, dropped the trailer, Got all my chains and my clevises and my straps off of it. Took them back home with me. And I bobtailed all the way back to Atlanta. And it seems like I got 2 of them back to back. And there's another picture of the same angle. And the chain that I was using is this one right here in the center of the trailer, right above that little light right there. Okay, onward and upward. Now this is an interesting picture. If you're not you don't know about the Amish folks up north, and well, I think there's even Amish communities in Georgia. I'm not sure on that, Mark, but I do know in Pennsylvania there are, because that's where I was at when I took this picture near Chambersburg or Shippensburg, somewhere in that neighborhood. But that's an Amish cart. They have tail lights and they have windshield and wipers and all this good stuff, but they have to in order to be on the road legally. But I just thought that was really cool, and the Amish people, they're so cool. I mean, I don't know if I could do their lifestyle or not, growing up with all the modern conveniences I have, but I think they're really cool that they stick to their guns. There's a close-up 3/4 view. Now this is not the same one. This one's like a pickup truck. The other one was like a sedan, you know, a 2-door or 4-door sedan. And this one's like a pickup truck, and they even got a tarp over it. I just thought that was so cool. And the horses that they have are so well trained and so used to automobiles and traffic. Even though I was all the way in the other lane, I had to go. You know, I can't do 5 miles an hour. I got to go. So I went. And there is a Mack transmission and engine from the 1960s. That is the very first Maxidine engine with a 5-speed Maxitorque transmission hooked to it. And I just love that picture so much, I had to include it in my trucking video. And an old auto car. Now, I love Mack trucks, but every now and again I'll see something that's just cool as all but get out. And this particular truck was at a shop over in Alabama when I was having a DOT inspection done, and ended up having to have some new brakes on the trailer, even though later I found out the guy had screwed me over big time. The brakes were nowhere near needing to be changed, but I did not know where the wear indicator was on those particular style brakes, and I found out later he'd put it to me. But this truck was there. It's a beautiful old 1970 auto car, and I took it out of this, not nostalgia on my part. It was made 3 years before I was born, but I did it for my friend Stan, because he has been trucking since the middle 50s, after he got back from Korea, from the Korean War. And he's been trucking, you know, he trucked 47 years before he semi-retired, and he still does it on the side, but not very often. And no air ride seats. This truck didn't have air conditioner in it when it was originally built. I mean, you name it, it was bare bones, and my phone wouldn't focus in on it, but it was a 1970 model. And that's what it had painted on the side, that mural right here. And I knew Stan, he's a pervert anyway. That's what, at least I'm always accusing him of being an old pervert. I figured he'd get a kick out of that. And the suspension it had, oh my God, it was atrocious. I've never seen anything quite like it. It was solid. It was absolutely solid. And that's the way an Eaton style rear end looks. And then you can see it had shocks on it, but it was solid. I don't know if I'd want to ride around in anything like that. That was, oh my goodness. Let me zoom out on this thing. Well, it won't zoom out, so I have to do it with the camera. I know this is not the best way to do this, ladies and gents. Believe me, I do realize that. But like I said, my computer just will not cooperate. And I screwed around 2 or 3 days trying to get it to do a photo montage and narrate it, and it didn't work out, so to heck with it. And that's a close-up on the air horns. And being I used my cell phone to get these pictures, they're pretty grainy, some of them. Alright, next. And this is a 50s model bullnose cab over Kenworth that I saw out in the middle of Kansas. And the guy invited me to go to the truck show where he was displaying it. Turned out the truck from the movie Convoy, the beautiful R700 that they used for the rubber duck drove, that black truck, that exact truck, a guy found the 3 original trucks, used the 3 to build one because they were all in such bad shape. One had been wrecked, of course, in the movie. Another one had been wrecked in real life, and the other one was just parts anyway. And I missed out on my opportunity because I didn't go. But I did get some decent pictures of that old bullnose Kenworth. But you can see how it sticks out like a miniature hood. In, you know, later model cabovers, it would have stopped. It came right down with the windshield, but this one here stuck out and went down. That's the reason they call it the bullnose. But I've always loved the way they look. And here's the interior shot, and how ancient looking the dash was. The guy, I mean, you know, he had just threw in some carpet and different things like that. And then there's my buddy Stan in my truck. I let him, actually he was working for me at the time, and I let him ride in it. And there's a close up on him, old knucklehead himself. But we were in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, when we took those two pictures. And that was later in the day at a different city in Pennsylvania. As the crane was unloading, there's a decent picture of me. And then there's another one of Stanton waving, which you can barely see it in this picture, but he's waving at the camera when we were out in Arizona. Let me see, I got it zoomed in a little too much. There's that pretty Mack again. There's that truck again, that R model. Good looking son of a gun. And that's where I was coming into the dock before we got straightened out. And that's the barge that we were on. I mean, I had a blast that day. I'd have done that load for free, knowing I'd have had that much fun. There I am standing on the front of the barge right there, and just had a great time. Didn't make a whole lot of money off that load, but I had a great, well, I don't know, I made pretty good money off of it, other than it took all day to actually get unloaded. And there I am with my Mack shirt on, my Mack hat on, and just had a good old time. There's one of the smallest loads I've hauled in recent years. A load of pipe. There's two pieces. Weighed less than 1,000 pounds. And I hauled that sucker, seems like I hauled that load 1,000 miles. There's another shot of the same load. Here's one of the heavier loads I haul. This is I-beams of steel. Big I-beams. There's a close-up shot of how much it hung over the front of the trailer. You got to be careful with that, because later on you'll probably see a picture where it's bent the piss out of my headache rack one time. I got it too far forward and it skinned up, and I had to slide my fifth wheel all the way to the rear in order to make it swing. Now this is a different steel mill. Now these here are coils. Let me zoom in on those things. Okay, they're just like big donuts of steel. Okay, and they weigh a lot. I mean, some of these things 50, 60, 70,000 pounds, depending on where they're going, what they're made for. Like that one right there. I mean, that sucker's got to be 45,000 pounds. It's huge. And if you drop that on a trailer from a couple of feet up, it'd break it like a twig. Actually, that's not the different one. You can see right here in the mirror, and I can zoom in on that baby. You can see in the mirror I had that load of I-beams on right there. Well, the camera's not going to pick it up now, but you can see right there that I had that same load of steel on there. Let me get my camera set back up here. There's another shot, that same freaking load. I don't know how in the world I kept adding the same pictures over and over on this thing. There's a close-up of the tractor alone. The load by itself pretty much. Now these reels here, This is conduit with fiber optic cable for the newest computer and telecommunications. They made these in Nashville, Georgia, and this particular load went up to the Technology Triangle up there near Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina. There's a side shot of the same load. This is a load of bags of paint. You talking about bags of paint? Yeah, bags of paint. It's a type of plastic. Okay, and they put it in this machine and it heats it up and it turns it into a liquid, and then it hits the street, and there's Daniel. So we'll end this part with this one. This is Mac Daddy 1911A1 sign off. Y'all have a good day.